The Denver Police Department is one of the many in the U.S. taking heat for its response to the George Floyd protests, not to mention its long history of discrimination claims. But one part of the city is trying something new. For our new series, United States of Policing, Josh Hirsch takes a look.
Good morning, Star One.
We can be in service for the day.
Carly Salen and Spencer Lee are not cops. They're just acting with them. Salen is a social worker, and Lee is a paramedic. And together, they're part of an experimental program in Denver called STAR, which sends mental health professionals to respond to 911 calls that just a few weeks ago would have gone to the police.
Star 1, go ahead.
District 6 just asked me to switch over to Channel 2 if you guys needed help with something.
Yeah, we've got a request for you at 4655 Humboldt, National Western, on a party that's not allowed to be on property at the entrance to the building.
Okay, clear.
Let's go do it. Roll out.
They're responding to a call from a homeless shelter. Vice News agreed not to film their encounter.
So what was this call about?
So we got dispatched to a male party that is unfortunately no longer able to stay here.
Is this the kind of situation where if you guys weren't around, the police might have responded to this?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, the police don't have a lot of options for him either. We've been dispatched to a couple of trespassing calls, and we go there to see if we can find a different solution other than just jail and just escorting these people around to different alleys and things like that.
Salen helped get the program started. It's got 6 months to prove it can work.
Is it possible for a police officer, a typical police officer, to have the level of experience and training that you have?
I mean, in the same way that, not sending me through the academy, the police academy and putting me out on patrol would work out, I would think. The officers have a ton of respect for our education and training. And are happy to kind of default to us when they need to. But I really see the value in this and think it's, one, a huge cost savings, two, more supportive and more appropriate for members of our community, and also, just keeps police doing what they're intended to do instead of all of these other things that have wound up on their plate.
The project is happening at a pivotal moment for policing in America. Since the killing of George Floyd, protesters across the country have been calling for cities to defund the police. To some, that means getting rid of the cops entirely. But to many others, it means finding a way to get the police out of encounters that have become part of their jobs, and probably shouldn't be. Denver's STAR program has been in the works for 2 years, and it's based on a similar one in the small city of Eugene, Oregon, called Cahoots, which for more than 3 decades has been diverting emergencies to specially trained providers. The program has saved the city an estimated $8 million a year, and a lot of headaches. Around 20% of all 911 calls in Eugene are transferred to Cahoots, meaning fewer chances for things to go wrong. Cahoots workers call for police backup less than 1% of the time. That's a big part of what drew the interest of Denver's chief of police, Paul Pazin.
Is it possible that what you'll learn here is that there just are certain things that police have traditionally done that you really just don't need police to do?
That's exactly what we expect to learn. When we're talking about people in need, people in crisis, does it make more sense to have a trained mental health professional in a non-enforcement role help that person? We're seeing a lot of positive steps in that direction.
Is it possible for the police to reform themselves?
I think that the type of structural changes that need to take place, that we do that by working with our community. We need to do better. We need better policing in the future, not no policing. We are not trying to own as many calls for services as possible. We're trying to give away some of that work because we believe that there could be better outcomes.
Pazin has a good reputation, but the Denver PD on the whole doesn't have a lot of trust in the community. During demonstrations last month, police used tear gas and rubber bullets against peaceful protesters. And the STAR program, for now at least, is officially a police project. Campaigners like Vinny Cervantes, who's been involved with the program from the start, would like to see it become totally independent. Is this defunding the police? Is that what that means?
Right now it's not. But I think ultimately this is a long-term vision of how resources could be used alternatively for different types of programs and service-based responses rather than, criminal justice-based responses. I think long-term this could be a vision of defunding the police. It saves money by virtue of not having nearly the level of response, equipment, and personnel that are responding to a situation. And because, in the worst cases, we're not violating somebody's civil rights by killing them. We've just spent so much time trying to get prosecutors to prosecute officers, which hasn't happened. We spent so much time trying to create changes in the use of force policy and trying to address the power and the influence of the police unions. That's been a long battle that's not even close to even really starting for the most part. I also don't want people to think that this is like something that we can put in front of them and say, don't worry about anything else, or like, don't continue protesting. Like, there's still so much change that needs to happen, including in how the police approached the protest to begin with.
Salen and her colleagues are doing their best to make the program work. And at least for now, she says, it's one that couldn't happen without police support.
Would this work without the police being fully invested in this?
I think it would be very difficult. You saw earlier this morning we were requested by police who showed up on a scene and said, we need a medic and a social worker here. That's the right response.
Do you worry about a situation where you respond to a call and it turns violent?
I've worked in community mental health my entire social work career. I did not have police cover as a case manager going out to motels, making grocery deliveries or delivering medications. You hungry? Granola bars? I'll put them right here for you.
What would success look like? I mean, what are you hoping to have at the end of this pilot period that you can say, look, we did this? Like, what is this?
I mean, I think to me personally, success would be, if you went and asked 10 people downtown, a few of them would say, oh yeah, STAR's great. They really helped me. That's awesome. That would feel like success to me.